Yeah.
And it's certainly not.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. We're going to get started with a little nigun to open up our spirits here tonight. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. My mask is feeling a little bit tight. Is it okay if we're far enough apart? Okay. If anyone feels uncomfortable, give me a sign or something and I'll put it back on. I'd like to invite up to light our Shabbat candles Melody Curtis and to say the blessing, which can be found on page 120. Amen. Thank you. We continue our service with Lecha Dodi on pages 138 and 139. As is our custom, we sing verses 1, 2, 5, and 9. And when we reach verse 9, I invite you, if you're able, to rise and face the door and imagine the Sabbath bride entering our synagogue, coming down the aisle to join us on this Shabbat. Lecha dodi likrat kala, pene Shabbat nekabela. 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 Shamor v'zachor b'dibur echad, Hishmi'anu el hamyuchad, Adonai echad, u'shemo echad, l'shemo tiferet ve'litila. Lecha dodi likrat kala, pene Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala, pene Shabbat nekabela. Likrat Shabbat lechuvanelcha, ki hi mekor habracha, meherosh mikadam nesucha, sof ma'aseh b'machshavat tchila. Lecha dodi likrat kala, pene Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala, pene Shabbat nekabela. Hitoreri, kiva orech kumi ori, uri, shir daberi, kevod Adonai alayich nigla. Lecha dodi likrat kala, pene Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala, pene Shabbat nekabela. Boi v'shalom ateret bala, gam besimcha uvetzola, toch emunei am segula, boi chala. Lecha dodi likrat kala, pene Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala, pene Shabbat nekabela. You may be seated. And now we've lit our Shabbat candles, welcomed in the Sabbath bride, and opened our hearts up to prayer with our opening nigun, and we're ready now to segue into our evening service with the Chatzi Kaddish on page 144. Sorry, no. 263, haha. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei rabba be'almadi rachu teviam lich malchutei b'chayechon uv'yomechon uv'chaye dechol beit Yisrael bagala uv'izman kariv ve'imeru amen. Yehesh me rabba mevarach le'alamul ame amaya yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yit'ale v'yithalal shemei dekudesha b'richu leila min kol berchata v'shirata Tushbechata v'nechemata damiran be'alma ve'imeru amen. On page 264, please prepare yourself for the Baruchu, the call to worship. Marechu et Adonai hamevorach Baruch Adonai hamevorach le'olam va'ed hamevorach le'olam va'ed. You may be seated, and we continue together on page 265. Adonai, your majesty is proclaimed by the marvels of earth and sky. Sun, moon, and stars testify to your power and wisdom. Day follows day in endless succession, and the years vanish, but your sovereignty endures. Though all things pass, let not your glory depart from us. Help us to become co-workers with you, and endow our fleeting days with abiding worth. Baruch atah Adonai, hama'ariv aravim. On page 266, we read responsively. In each age, we receive and transmit Torah. At each moment, we are addressed by the world. In each age, we add our wisdom to that which has gone before. At each moment, the knowing heart is filled with wonder. Baruch atah Adonai ohev amo Yisrael. On page 267 and 268, we have the Shema and Ve'ahavta. I invite you to prepare yourself for these words of Torah. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem, Kevod Malchuto, Leolam Va'ed. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha, Bechol levavcha, uvechol nafshecha, uvechol meodecha, v'hayu hadvarim ha'ele, asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam v'shivtecha b'veitecha uvlechtecha v'derech uvshachvecha uvkumecha ukshartam leot al yadecha v'hayu letotafot beinenecha uchtavtam al mezuzot beitecha uvisharecha leman tizkaru v'asitem et kol mitzvotai v'hitem kedoshim l'lohechem ani Adonai Elohechem asher hotzeti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim v'hiyot lachem Elohim ani Adonai Elohechem. You may be seated. On page 269, we again read responsively, this time with Ruach. We worship the power that unites the universe, a promise of harmony for all. Before our eyes, there is a vision of perfection, order, and goodness. When will redemption come? Long ago, we escaped tyranny of Egypt. Our people saw the power of the Most High. Mi chamocha bailim Adonai, mi kamocha neder bakodesh, nora tehilot osefele, nora tehilot osefele, malechutecha ra'u vanecha bokei ayam, lifnei Moshe ze'eli, Anu ve'ameru Adonai yimloch elam ba'ed mi chamocha bailim Adonai mi kamocha neder bakodesh nora tehilot osefele nora tehilot osefele Baruch atah Adonai Ga'al Yisrael. Page 271. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom, l'shalom, v'hamidenu shomreinu l'chayim, ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha, ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha. Amen. Shelter us beneath thy wings, O Adonai. Guard us from all harmful things, O Adonai. Keep us safe throughout the night, till we wake with morning's light. Teach us daily wrong from right, O Adonai. Amen. 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 Page 272. V'shamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat lidorotam berit olam. V'shamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat lidorotam berit olam. Beini uvein b'nei Yisrael oti leolam, oti leolam. V'shamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. כי 6 ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת. לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. וביום השביעי שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת. לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. We come now to the central portion of our evening prayer. The Amidah begins on page 273 and continues over the next few pages. I invite you to prepare yourself for this set of blessings. Adonai sefatai tiftach ufi agid tehilatecha. Eternal God, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your glory. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, v'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, v'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'konei hakol, v'zocher chasdei avot v'imahot, u'mevi geula livnei v'neihem, le'ma'an shemo be'ahava, melech ozer u'moshia u'magen. Baruch atah Adonai, magen Abraham ve'ezrat Sarah. Atah gibor le'olam Adonai, mechayei hakol atah rav lehoshia, morid hatal. Mechalkel chayim bechesed, mechayeh hakol berachamim rabim, somech noflim verofeh cholim, umatir asurim, umekayem emunato lishenei afar, michamocha ba'al gevurot, umidom melach, Melech memit umechayeh umatzmiach Yeshua v'ne'eman atah l'hachayot hakol. Baruch atah Adonai mechayeh hakol. Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh u'kadoshim b'chol yom yahallelucha selah. Baruch atah Adonai ha'el hakadosh. You may be seated. And we continue together on page 279. Be gracious, Adonai, our God, to your people Israel, and receive our prayers in love. Oh, may our worship always be acceptable to you. Fill us with the knowledge that you are near to all who seek you in truth. Let our eyes behold your presence in our midst and in the midst of our people in Zion. Blessed is Adonai, whose presence renews Zion. Baruch atah Adonai, machazir shechinato l'Tzion. On page 281, we read responsively, again with Ruach. For the good in us, which calls us to a better life, we give thanks. For the desire in us to lead, which leads us to work for peace, we are grateful. For all these things, O Sovereign, let your name be forever praised and blessed. O God, our Redeemer and Helper, let all who live affirm you and praise your name in truth. Blessed are you, Adonai. Your name is goodness, and you are worthy of thanksgiving. Baruch Ata Adonai, Hatov Shimcha Ulecha Na'el Lehodot. Page 282. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Ki atahu melech Adon L'chol hashalom. V'tov beinecha levarech et amcha Yisrael b'chol eit uv'chol sha'a b'shlomecha. Shalom Rav al Yisrael amcha tasim leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael amcha tasim leolam. Tasim leolam. Baruch Ata Adonai hamivarech et amo Yisrael b'shalom. We take a moment now for silent prayer. You might use the words on pages 183 through 185 or the meditations of your own heart. Yehiyu liratzon imrei fi vehegyon libi lefanecha. Adonai tzuri, Adonai tzuri. V'goali. May the words of our mouths and the meditations of our hearts be acceptable to you, Adonai, our rock and redeemer. We turn our thoughts now to those who are ill or injured or in recovery from surgeries and in need of our healing prayers. We have on our list Rosalind Cantu, Lori Perry, Nick Joliot, Rhonda Butler, Minna and Ira Dornfeld, Frank Lerner, Ali France, Shmuel Yosef ben Yisrael Tzvi, Ann Cohen, Anita Ash, Patty Bergeron, Josiah Miller, Debbie Rubenstein, Jed Michael, Kathy Katz, and Taliba Hassan. And if anyone else has a name they'd like to add at this time, please do so. We hold in our hearts all those in need of prayers of healing of body, mind, and spirit, and our Misha Berach is on page 371. Misha Berach Avotenu Mekor HaBracha Le'imotenu. May the source of strength, who blessed the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Mishe Berach Imotenu Mekor HaBracha La'avotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. We also pray for the health and safety of all those in our community who are active military duty, first responders, and peacekeepers, those around the world whose jobs are dangerous so that our lives might not be. We have on that list Oni Hinnanen, Joshua Ehrlichman, Martin Brown, Howard Mergler, Kyle Smet, Andrew Booth, Joseph Cald, Pete Abelson, Jeremy Sharkey, Benjamin Hurd, Alexander Furman, Daniel Gilman, Curtis Miller, Rob Apgar, Ben Farrell, Caleb Menzies, Francis Petrarca, Noah Kaplan, Aaron Breeding, Dakota Rollins, Jacob Duvris, Janet Ingraham, and Tyler Adcock. And of course, all those in the armed services and on the ships at sea that tune in and watch us via our YouTube stream. Although we don't know for certain who or where you are, we know you're with us and you're part of our community as well. May the one who blessed our fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and our mothers, Sarah, Rebecca, Leah, and Rachel, bless those who are serving in our armed services. May God guard them and keep them from harm. If they find themselves in danger's path, may God bring them back whole of mind and body to all those who love them. May it be your will, Adonai Tsevaot, to lead them to safety and to protect them from each and every enemy and ambush. May God make their journey successful and guard their going out and coming in with mercy and love, and let them be blessed to return home with life and peace, now and forever. And let us say, Amen. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. This week's Torah portion is Parshat Re'eh, in which we are promised more blessings and curses according to our obedience to God's law. We are also reminded how, where, and when we may consume the flesh of another living thing. And we are commanded to observe specific laws that only apply within the land of Israel. The word Re'eh means see, and the late 11th century Spanish grammarian Ibn Ezra comments on this, that the phrasing at the beginning of the Parsha indicates that Moses is speaking to each individual person among the Israelites and the mixed multitudes. All the laws given in this Torah portion are repeats of laws given before, mostly in Leviticus, and Moses wants to be sure that everyone is really listening this time before the people enter the Holy Land without him and have to start actually implementing the laws on their own. This is like the final review session before the big exam. One law in particular from Parshat Re'eh happens to be extremely relevant this week. Deuteronomy 15:1 says, "Every 7th year you shall practice a remission of debts." And just Wednesday, President Biden announced his plan to forgive some student debt, up to $10,000 for anyone with an income under $125,000 a year, and an additional possible $10,000 for Pell Grant recipients. While there surely could have been more and better and sooner debt remission in this country for this Shemitah year, this is certainly a good start. Shemitah technically only applies to Jewish debtors and within the land of Israel, but the laws of Shemitah reflect Jewish values of justice, equity, our relationship to the land from which all sustenance comes, and our relationship to the divine from which all our blessings flow. And so they are concepts we as Jews should advocate for in every land and for every person. 12th century French commentator Gilles Cuny suggests that the reason chapter 15 begins with this commandment is to follow up on the commandments at the end of chapter 14 regarding the poor, the orphans, the widows, and the strangers. This is basically what the Shemitah legislation is also about, he says. It is an act of equity over equality, of resetting the balances in society to inhibit wealth hoarding and poverty disparity. He also explains that the following verse of the Parsha, which suggests that it is okay to continue to hold debts over non-Jews, is because the Gentile debtor who is allowed to grow crops during that year and sell them is therefore able to repay his debts. Him you may exact repayment from during that year. So again, there is this clear concern about equity, who can pay and who can afford to pay and who can't. And this is the same idea that applies for giving the Pell Grant scholars a higher amount of possible forgiveness, as Pell Grants are only given to those who, from low-income families who float slightly above the poverty line, and so they're already at a higher need to get into college in the first place and thus likely to take out more loans. I come from a middle-class family where money was often tight, and I often felt underprivileged compared to my wealthier peers in Shoreline, Connecticut. But we were comfortable enough, and my parents encouraged me to go to the school I wanted to go to and to follow my dreams. My undergrad college offered some financial aid my first year, some scholarship money, but did not continue it. I didn't lose a scholarship due to my academic endeavors or on-campus behaviors that I was aware of. They simply decided that now I had committed to their institution and I would have to figure out how to pay for the next 3 years on my own. I don't know if that's common at other schools, but it's something I heard and saw a lot at my own poorly endowed private college. When your biggest celebrity and like richest alumni is Ken Burns, you don't get a whole lot of endowment. My parents helped me as much as they could, but mostly we took out a lot of loans. My parents signed off on all the loans, and honestly, I didn't really pay attention to what was going on with them until I graduated and the bills started coming to me. I worked an on-campus job throughout school where the cap that the school itself instituted was only 10 hours a week, and to make up for it through the summers, I worked 70-hour work weeks for 3 months. But that still basically only covered books and food. And thankfully, as a liberal arts student, I didn't have to buy $100 textbooks, so it actually did cover books and food for the year. But that's it. I went to college knowing that I wanted to go to rabbinical school after as well, so that's not like that was a secondary decision in the face of debt. Some people seem to continue academia so that they can just keep deferring. But that wasn't my case. It was always part of the plan. And again, something that at 16, when it became the plan, I had no thought as to the costs of. So in grad school, I continued to rack up more debt. My undergrad loans continued to accrue interest. And by the time I was ordained, I owed nearly twice what I had initially borrowed, despite my best efforts to pay off minimum monthly payments as often as I could, though some semesters I did have to take that in-school deferment. During the pandemic, I was lucky that my income was minimally affected and I was able to continue making my payments that now went straight to the principal. And I saw more progress on my debt repayment in that 1 year than I had the prior 10 years that I'd been trying to pay off those loans, thanks to the interest freeze. My in-laws eventually helped me pay out the rest. Without their help, it would have taken me at least another 10 to 15 years to repay it. And that's, assuming there wasn't further debt relief plans such as the one that just passed and that 6% interest rate came back in January. So I was incredibly lucky, and that is just not the situation for most people out there. The student loan business in this country is predatory lending, and it needs serious intervention. This plan that passed Wednesday is honestly just the tip of the iceberg. But it's better than no chipping away at the ice. By way of closing, I want to return to Chiz Cooney's commentary on the fact that the Shemitah debt relief only applies to Jews and implicitly only in the land of Israel. There's been a lot of talk this year throughout the Jewish world about ways to honor Shemitah in the diaspora. And now, as the Jewish year comes to a close, and also as midterms approach, I am seeing more and more people talk about debt relief. And I'm realizing what a shanda, a disgrace, it really is that our Jewish institutions had not been more vocal on this issue until now. Jewish organizations devote time to all sorts of important advocacy issues, but wealth inequality, or economic apartheid, as I heard one preacher call it yesterday on a call with clergy about High Holy Day sermons, is at the root of so much else. Equitable debt relief would be an incredible step forward toward true equality in all other areas of life. Chizkuni explains why that clause in the mitzvah is really about accessibility and equity. And now, as a people that no longer live in sequestered communities, that no longer depend on our own crops, it's time to reimagine what the essence of that law is rather than the letter of the law. Who are the people now more able to pay off their debts or to pay a higher tax bracket to help the federal social welfare system? And who are the people now who have had their incomes halted by mass incarceration, by the pandemic, by prejudiced hiring practices, and need the debt remission in order to move forward in this and to be contributing members of this society? So often this country is more concerned with consequences for other people's choices that we are blind to how enforcing those consequences drag down the whole society. A rising tide lifts us all. May we be lifted. May we lift each other, and may we see that our liberation is all bound together. Amen and Shabbat Shalom. We turn toward our concluding blessings with Aleinu on page 586. And I would like to invite Ethan, because you're right here, to come up and help me open the ark. And I invite the rest of you to please prepare yourself for the ark to be open. Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, latet gedula liotzer breshit, shelo asanu k'goyei haratzot, velo samanu k'mishpachot ha'adama, shelo sam chalkenu kahem, vigor aleinu kechol hamonam, va'anachnu korim, umishtachavim umodim, Lifnei melech malchei hamlachim, hakadosh baruch hu. V'ne'emar v'haya Adonai lemelech al kol haaretz. Bayom hahu, hiye Adonai echad. U'shemo echad. You may be seated. And now we turn our thoughts to those who are no longer with us in body, but remain with us in spirit. This week marks the yahrzeit for Mary Ava Berry, Marvin Drabkin, Helen Noni Schuster, and it is the first yahrzeit for Gary Sullivan, Debbie Taylor Wright, and Mark Anderson. And we are also still within a year of mourning for Samuel Fallis, Elaine Skolnick, Edith Herman, Phyllis Rosen, Jill Rosen, Jack Schuber, Aaron Scanlon, and Lieutenant Colonel Stanley Heath. If anyone else has a name they'd like to add at this time, please do so. May their names and memories be forever for a blessing. Mourners and those who wish to join them may rise on page 598. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, Be'alma divrach hirute v'yamlich malchute, b'chayechon uv'yomechon uv'chaye dechol beit Yisrael, ba'agala uv'izman kari v'imru amen. Yehe shmei rabba mevarach le'olam u'lalmei maya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yithadar v'yit'aleh v'yithalal shmei d'kudesha barichu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, da'amiran be'alma v'imru, amen. Yehe shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim alenu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru, amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, alenu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru, amen. You may be seated. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru, imru, amen. Ya'aseh shalom, ya'aseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Ya'aseh shalom, ya'aseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Ya'aseh shalom, ya'aseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Ya'aseh shalom, ya'aseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. V'imru, amen. A couple of announcements before we close. Sunday is our open house. I hope I will see you all back here on Sunday, sometime between 12 and 3. Come schmooze with other members, have some burgers and hot dogs, play some yard games, register your kids for religious school if you've got them, become a member if you're not already, all of the things. It will be a lovely afternoon. Next Wednesday is our book club meeting, The Choice by Maggie Anton. If you haven't already started it, you're probably not going to make it to the meeting because it's like a 500-page book. It's a little on the long side for our book club, but it's been very good. If you want to join us in the future, stay tuned. Our meetings are always the last Wednesday of the month at 10:30 a.m. on Zoom. Next weekend, we will be celebrating the bat mitzvah of Gabby Hover and the bar mitzvah of Mark Hover. So Friday night services and Saturday morning next week at 7:30 and 10 respectively. Please join us. It will be a lovely Shabbat. And next Sunday is not religious school because of Labor Day weekend, but the Sunday after that is the first Sunday of religious school. So if you've got kids in religious school, stay tuned, September 11th. And September 9th is our 9th annual Patriot Shabbat. So services, again, do start at 7:30, but we will hopefully be joined by all of our local military and veterans groups, our first responders, and some of the local dignitaries, delegates, supervisors, etc. It's always a very nice service and a time to honor those who protect our community. High Holy Days are coming up, but not for another month, so just hold it in your head. September 25th and September 26th is Rosh Hashanah. There will be more details in future announcements. And it's all on the website and Facebook already, so you can mark down the times in your own calendars if you would like. It is exactly 1 month away, yes. Yeah, right, tomorrow night. I think, or maybe, is it tonight? Is it a twofer? This weekend is Rosh Chodesh Elul, so Rosh Chodesh Tishrei, which is Rosh Hashanah, is exactly a month away. A full moon's worth away. Okay. Our closing song will be Ein Kelohenu on page 626, not 262. Those are inverted numbers. Yes, Kay, did I miss something? Sure. Let's assume that it is Rosh Chodesh. Okay. I don't always get a sound out of it. Does anybody else want to try first? Is anybody better at this? Nope. Yeah, that's what I can do right now. All right. 626. Ein Kelohenu, Ein Kadonenu, Ein Kemokenu, Ein Kemoshienu, Mi Chelohenu, Mi Chadonenu, Mi Chemokenu, Mi Chemoshienu, Nodel Eloheinu, Nodel Adonenu, Nodel Emokenu, Nodel Moshienu, Baruch Eloheinu, Baruch Adonenu, Baruch Malkeinu, Baruch Moshienu, Atahu Eloheinu, Atahu Adonenu, Atahu Malkeinu, Atahu Moshienu. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Thanks for joining us. Please join us for Kiddush and Motzi outside.